The slaughter bots are coming. Consider what both Alex Karp and Peter Thiel, the Palantir architects of our new mass AI surveillance grid, have said about what they want to do with the capabilities of their patented technologies.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in this.
the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. A transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross-dresses, and a transsexual is someone where you change your penis into a vagina. We want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body.
Basically no conflict in the world where Palantir is not the first call.
Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
Now consider the 2017 release of the film Slaughterbots, funded in part by Elon Musk.
To separate the bad guys from the good. It's a big deal. But we have something much bigger. Your kids probably have one of these, right? Not quite. Its processor can react 100 times faster than a human. And just like your phones and social media apps, it does facial recognition. Inside here is 3 grams of sheep explosive. They can penetrate buildings, cars, trains, evade people, bullets, pretty much any countermeasure. Just characterize him, release the swarm, and rest easy.
You can see high windows, very small, precisely punctured to gain entry to the building.
A $25 million order now buys this. Enough to kill half a city.
Legislation would be useless against the so-called slaughterbots.
Just to stay away from crowds.
We are thinking big. They cannot be stopped. When you can find your enemy using data, even by a hashtag, you can target an evil ideology right where it starts.
I refer back to what the Noticer recently told me about cinema being spellcasting. However, after long discussions with the Noticer, I have come to believe that the deeper truth is being overlooked, that it is, as he has theorized, spellcasting via the principle of consent. Remember, the vampire is impotent unless invited in. Once consent is given, the vampire is empowered. In this way, mass consent is harvested through cinema via the power of suggestion and the audience's willingness to entertain the notion of the darkest potential realities, causing them to eventually manifest in the physical realm. As author William S. Burroughs, a practicer of black magic, used to say, science fiction has a bad habit of always coming true. Remember, these people now possess this very technology and joke about using it. There is another side to all of this. I want you to consider this interview from this documentary by Dr. Maurice Rawlins, whose research in the field of NDE is completely undisputed.
And surely don't talk to him about a resurrection or a virgin birth or this type of thing, because I am in research science. PhDs in research science, the majority of them do not believe in God. I was an atheist. Now see, it's very easy to be an atheist. When you're successful, you have worked your way from Oklahoma welfare to being one of the most powerful men in your part of the country, one of the most powerful men in the state of Oklahoma in relationship to political. It's very easy to be an atheist when you have done all of that. Man can sit back and say, I don't need God. What is God? But it's very difficult to be an atheist when you're laying on your deathbed, because you begin to think, what if these people are right? See, there'd been one man by the name of Ron Short that has stood between me and the gates of hell. One man that had witnessed to me about the love of Jesus for 5 years before I became ill. One man. And, you know, I would debate him, and I liked him because he did what he said he was going to do. I mean, he was the only one that I saw that professed to be Christian that lived what he said he was going to do. And so I really respected him. I didn't believe what he said, but I respected him. But when I'm laying on my deathbed and knowing that I'm going to die, guess who I thought about? I thought about, what if Ron is right? What if there is a heaven and a hell? And so the most immediately, the most pressing thought in my mind is, how do I get saved? What is saved? What is saved? How do I get saved? And so I sent them for Ron Short. I wanted him to come down because I wanted him to do what he had to do. I had no idea. How can a man hanging on a tree in Israel 2,000 years ago, what is that to me? But I knew that he had something that I had to have. And that night, see, I had him go for Ron, but Ron wasn't home. Ron was in Alabama. And so I had him go and send for Ron. And that night was the longest night that I've ever had in my entire life, before or since. And that night is, as I would be laying there in bed, as I'm laying there in bed, I would begin to fade away. I would begin to fade away, and as I would fade away, I would begin to go down. It was like darkness. It was so dark. It was like the very darkness just penetrated into your very, very being. And as I left, and I can tell you I left my body because I remember when I came back into my body. You know, I don't know where I was out of my body. Now, there are people that talk about a light. There are people that talk about floating above. There are people that talk about a feeling of warmth and love. I didn't feel any of that. I felt none of that. I felt untold terror. Untold terror. Because I knew that if I ever went all the way, if I slipped all the way, I would never get back. Now, in my beings of beings, I knew that. And so I fought all night long. They told me later on, I not only pulled the mattress cover off of the mattress, I pulled the mattress up on me because I had to stay. I had to wait. I had to wait till Ron got there. Whatever he had to do, I had to wait. But I would, again, and then I would leave, and I would be going down like a deep, deep, dark terror. Now, my skin began to get cold. Now, it's not like cold when you walk out into the air. It's like bone chilling cold in my lower extremities. And you can feel the coldness begin to come up the legs. And again, I would begin to leave. Now, and I would be in that darkness, and I'd be in that void. And I remember one time entering back in my body, because when I entered my body, it was like, just like that. I felt my body thud. My physical body thud when I entered back in. Now, believe me, that is the most horrifying, terrifying experience that I've ever encountered. And I fought all night long. And the next morning, somewhere 9:30, 10 o'clock, in came Ron. And Ron came in and he says, Dr. Whitaker, what do they say is your chances? I said, Ron, they tell me I have none. He says, now's the time. And I said, you're right. I mean, I'd cursed him, I'd spit at him, but now was the time because I had to have whatever he had because I had a short period of time on earth and I didn't have any idea when I might make that trip and go all the way.
For those who go to serve darkness, evil, violence, cruelty, thinking that this places them in a dominant position in the earthly realm whereby they will enjoy more riches, power. I draw your attention to two very famous evil men and what they had to say upon their deathbeds. To quote Mark Atwood, even after a lifelong devotion to evil, you are really nothing more than a snack. Please subscribe and or follow You Are Not Crazy. You know you are not crazy. No matter how many people have tried to convince you that you are. Stand strong and trust the soul you were given. This show is for you. For Brandish Productions, this is Daddy Brandish.